Welcome back for more Reddit stories. Today we have several entitled parent stories for you to enjoy. As always, don't forget to share and like if you enjoy these videos. Without further ado, here we go. Pair of EMs tried to shut down a festival and pepper spray my boyfriend over cultural appropriation. This story starts yesterday afternoon with me and my boyfriend going to a Japanese cultural festival. The festival gets held every year at some kind of large temple cultural center, but this is my first time going. I've wanted to go for the past few years, but for one reason or another, something else always came up that prevented me from going. So needless to say, I'm pretty excited to go now that the stars have perfectly aligned for me to go. There's all sorts of events and activities going on in and outside of the buildings when we arrive: music, food, educational speakers, presentations, etc. And me and my boyfriend spent the day having a great time. Eventually, we end up at the booth that allows people to pay to take pictures in traditional Japanese attire. We both dress up in a yukata, and at the end, the person running the booth tells us if we would like to purchase our own kimonos or yukata that they have a vendor that is selling them. I think it's pretty cool, so we go to check it out and I end up purchasing one for me and my boyfriend. Both of us putting them on right away. End up heading to go get some food when someone called out to us with an "excuse me." Turn around and see two women with a kid. One of them is a white woman, EM1, and the other appears to be Asian, EM2. Both of them have obnoxious, brightly colored hair and wearing effing hate shirts. EM1: "Hey there, can I ask if either of you are of Japanese descent?" Me: I'm not sure about him," I say jokingly. My BF: "No, I'm not." EM1: "Well, then why do you feel like you have the right to wear that?" Me: "I don't understand." EM1: "It's called cultural appropriation and it's wrong, so you need to take those off and never wear them again." My BF: Excuse me?" EM2: "It's just that if you aren't Japanese, you shouldn't be wearing those outfits. Japanese culture isn't your fashion statement." This keeps going on for about 2 minutes. The two seems to have a routine where EM1 is the aggressor, constantly throwing out accusations and labels, while EM2 is just trying to guilt trip us. EM1 is getting angrier by the second. We try walking away at one point, but EM1 blocks our path. EM1: "Don't walk away from me." Kid starts crying, probably because his mom just yanked the hell out of his arm and is screaming at strangers on a hot day. EM1: "Now you're upsetting our son." My BF: "Please leave us alone. We bought these at the festival and you're being ridiculous." Staff members comes over since this is starting to cause a scene. EM2 starts speaking to one of them, presumably in Japanese, while the other is stuck with EM1, berating them, telling them they should be ashamed of themselves, how they shouldn't allow things like this, etc. Meanwhile, EM2 says she's calling the police to shut down the festival. At this point, we try to get out of here. EM1 spots us trying to leave and tries to grab my boyfriend, who just knocks her hands away. EM1 suddenly pulls out a pepper spray and sprays it at my boyfriend, getting him right in the eyes. Shockingly, they don't stick around for when the police show up. They take our statement of what happened, but unfortunately this place doesn't have security footage and nobody was recording the incident. We made it very clear that when they're found that we want to press charges, but so far we haven't heard anything. After that, we went over to the hospital to make sure that my boyfriend won't have any lasting eye damage. I'll keep this updated if anything changes. Update 1. No call from the cops, but boyfriend got a call from someone who is apparently a part of the people who run the event. He didn't ask how high up the chain they were, but the meat and bones of the conversation was they were calling to offer an apology that this happened at the event and to inform him that they would cooperate in whatever way possible with the investigation. They also told him they would be making some changes regarding security, and he seemed happy enough with the result. We'll keep posted for further developments. Entitled mother gets angry at me for manhandling her son after he broke my parents' fence, then refuses to pay because he said sorry. Act 1. A song of fences and footballs. So for a bit of a backstory, my parents sometimes ask me or my siblings to watch the house while they are gone because they do not want to leave the dogs alone for an extended period of time Usually my youngest sibling does it because she still lives at home. But she had to go to a friend's party sleepover. As a result, my parents asked if I had time, and given I did not have to work today and I only have one shitty class that I can skip without any real trouble, I obliged. My parents live in a large village, essentially one that gives you the illusion of rural, but in reality it is a 5 to 10 minute drive from several bigger towns and the city. One of those villages you want to leave as a 20 years old, but you want to return to the moment you have your own children. There's barely any crime, everyone knows everyone, it is extremely calm, etc. However, it has one issue. One of the larger towns close to the village is sort of notorious for scummy people. It is one of those towns that constantly manages to F up its budget, and a good third of its population are lazy asses, and so on. It's like a giant pimple on an otherwise blemishless area. As a result, when people from said town manage to get some money, they have a tendency to move to the village my parents live in. Local government makes this nice and difficult for them on the down low, but they can't stop it all. And as expected, they bring their attitude with them. Our entitled mother and her devil spawn in this great saga are from said town. Cast: me, the Wizard of Oz, EK, entitled kid, EM, entitled mother, ED, entitled dad, and neighbor. So I am sitting in the garden, minding my own business, scrolling some news sites, messaging some friends, enjoying the nice weather, which is interrupted by the sound of a football. A soccer ball, for those who imagine I mean hand ag or pussy rugby, being shot against my parents' house and the neighbor's house. We have this carport area between the two houses, which is roomy and makes sure you don't lose your ball all the time. So my parents generally allow kids to use it when they are at work. So this continues for a bit, and before long, the ball shoots right over the fence in the back of our yard, which I frankly did not notice as I was on my phone. However, I am quickly interrupted by the dog growling. Extremely big mixed German and Belgian Shepherd, followed by the loud crack of wood and a thump from someone large falling down. Well, I see the kid from 2 houses further falling down and my dog about to charge. So I put my phone on the table, grab the dog by its collar, and put it inside. In the meantime, the kid is already in the yard, grabbing his ball and sprinting back to the broken fence. The fence is about 1.8 meters tall, made of wooden planks, hence is not exactly made to withstand 13-year-old overweight kids climbing on it. The kid attempted to climb back over, cracking another plank at the bottom in his escape attempt before I walk over and grab him by the back of his shirt collar. Me: "And where do you think you are going?" Let me go, let me go. I don't think so. You just broke the fence, so you can either calm down and we go to your house to explain what happened, or I call the police. At this point, the kid starts flailing, trying to get himself loose. That is until he turns around and looks at me. Now, I am 6'5", 6'6", in very good physical shape, and I have permanent resting dipshit face, so he quickly stopped. At this point, I grabbed the key from my pocket and opened the yard door, to walk over to his house, with the kid still firmly by his shirt collar. As we reach the door, I knock on it and am greeted by the sound of a yelling woman behind the closed door talking about how the kid has a key and now she has to get up, etc. But eventually the door opened, and at this point, from the corner of my eye, I could already see my neighbor standing behind his living room window, arms crossed and shaking his head. Me: "Hello, miss you?" EM: "Let go of my boy right now. What is wrong with you?" I let go primarily because I was shocked about the reaction. The kid starts sobbing like a 5-year-old and runs inside. EM: "How dare you touch my son?" Well, if you would stop yelling and let me explain, I am not yelling. Note of the OP, she was yelling. Right, regardless, your son just broke my parents' fence, trying, EM, and that gives you the right to manhandle my son? I did not manhandle your son, I grabbed the collar of his shirt because he was trying to run away after he broke the fence. Now, you can either calm down and we can come to an agreement how to handle this, or I can call the police and have them deal with it. At this point, he seems to calm down a bit more, especially after I mentioned the word police. EM: "Right, so it is probably not that bad." She calls over her son, apparently having fixed his sadness as he appears again, stuffing his face with candy. EM: "Say sorry to the neighbor." EK: "Sorry." And he bolts off again and not even giving me a chance to reply. EM. Well, with that out of the way, she attempts to close her door, but I quickly shake off my shock and put my foot in the door, pushing the door open again and at this point raising my voice substantially. Excuse me, your son broke the fence. It's all fine and dandy he gave a half-assed apology on your orders, but that still leaves the fact that he just broke a 200-euro wooden fence that will need to be replaced. EM. My son said sorry and that's the end of it. At this point, the neighbor has opened his door, leaning against his doorpost to listen in as his eyes are summoning a hurricane by the sheer amount of rolling they are doing. Just a little note, he dislikes them a lot. He has had a lot of problems with them ever since they moved in. Once again, our EMs attempted to close the door on me, but I still have my foot in the doorway. So all she is doing is giving my toes a thrashing. Me. Look, this is the last time her hulking 5'5" muscle mass of a husband appears now. Visibly upset, annoyed, every muscle within his noodle arms straining, his balding head glistening in the sun, peeking through the door opening, though slightly obscured by the 3 strands of hair combed over his head from the side as his enormous shape looks up at his taller wife. ED. And what is the problem here? EM. He is yelling at me and manhandled our son. ED. I will get you, you asshole. The door swings open and as you may imagine, I am just shaking on my legs. This pure, mighty example of masculinity threatened to do me harm. Gosh, I have never been so terrified in my life. Me. Look dude, I didn't do jack shit to your son. And the only one who has been yelling this entire time is your wife. Now, your son broke my parents' fence, so you can either get it repaired or give me the money to buy a new one and pay me for the time it takes to replace it. I wouldn't have charged labor costs, but given they were being dicks, so can I. Or we can get the police involved. ED, you have no proof of what happened, so go fix it yourself, asshole. And if I ever see, neighbor, I saw everything. Your son broke the fence and tried to run away. Also, your wife just assaulted the neighbor with the door. You can clearly spot a devious smirk on the neighbor's face. He likely did not see anything, but like I said, he absolutely hates them and this was him taking revenge, I think. At the same time, I can see EM and ED visibly losing all the bravado they had left. Me. So, as I was saying, the fence cost 200 euro when my parents purchased it, add another 50 for the time it takes me to replace it, and we all walk away from this. Added to that, if you threaten me again, I will just have to defend myself, won't I? At this point, I was honestly sort of hoping he would lose his shit and attack me, cause you have a reasonable cause to defend yourself in this case, and honestly, I don't handle threats very well. And I have quite a temperament myself, so you may imagine I was seething at this point. But of course, he backed off. He told me he would get me the money tomorrow, and reminded him if I or my parents did not get it before tomorrow evening, I would be sure to call the police. Also, I informed them their kid was no longer allowed to play on our property, the carport. I thanked my neighbor and returned to the yard to scroll on my phone, make this post and laugh about this stupid ordeal. Entitled tourist dad demands my employee parking spot. I work 3 jobs in a tourist town, so my life is a little busy at the moment, trying to get that back for the ski season. It's an absolute blessing that one of my jobs has a single employee parking spot out back. It's so effing sick that I can just park for free and not have to walk to work, especially when I'm really tired. There are only 2 other people who work with me and we're all kind of homies, so sometimes I'll use the spot when I'm not clocked in. So the other day I just finished my shift at the mentioned job and I'm going to my other job in 2 hours to work the evening. It's a festival weekend, we're busy as F. I'm tired, so I decide that's the perfect amount of time to hotbox my car and take a power nap. I'm woken up by a heavy knock on my window. Immediately I think, F, it's a cop. I bet my car smells like weed. Shit. So I get up pretty fast. I'm relieved to see it's not a cop, but instead is some short, balding guy who looks a little pissed off. Behind him, blocking the entirety of the alleyway, is a giant van full of screaming kids with an Indiana license plate. I roll the window down a bit and I'm like, hey, what can I help you with, dude? ED. This town doesn't have any goddamn parking, it's ridiculous. Me, yeah man, there's free parking just up the way there, next to the ice rink. It's a short walk to the festival. This is when the dude starts yelling and I'm suddenly not about it anymore because I realized he probably drove down this alley thinking he would find a spot and saw me sleeping in my car. Why the F this would prompt you to wake that person up and ask for the spot, I have no idea. Edie, look, I have 6 kids, we can't park that far away, we're only going to the festival for an hour or so, all the spots on the main street are taken up and it looks like you're just about to leave. Me, oh, does it? That's crazy, man. Edie, who are you to talk like that to me? Show some respect. You could park further away if you wanted to. You're able-bodied. My wife has a disability. You're just effing lazy. Now, I'm really not having it. I point to the sign that is clearly posted right in front of my car, which says employee parking. Violators will be towed. Me, do people in Indiana not know how to read? I work here, you absolute F. That's why I get to park here. Does that make sense to you? Edie is pissed at this point and I guess he's done messing around. He puts his greasy effing hands on my window. Look, get your hands off my effing car or we're gonna have a real problem. Edie, just let us park here, you piece of shit. Dude, you can't effing park here and then I will immediately call and have your ass towed. Is that what you want? Edie, F you asshole. And yeah, he stormed off to his van, drove off, and that was pretty much it. I hate these kinds of people, man. Whole thing ruined my damn day as well as my nap. So those were the stories for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, a like will be highly appreciated. It really does help my channel out. Also, if you enjoyed this and want to stay up to date on the latest videos, then don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.